Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. Today, we are going to continue our series Silent Nights. That's when we talk about / review our favorite Christmas classics. Today, we are talking 2003's Elf starring Will Ferrell. If you haven't seen this movie, there will be some spoilers. So, that is your jingle bell warning.
Alright, so let's talk about this film, and after years when this movie came out, it still holds up well, and it's still funny, and the plot of this film plays a lot like an E.T. story. I know that doesn't make any sense, but just bear with me. Buddy, the main character, lives in the North Pole and thinks he's an elf, but he's actually a human, and then it's like where the North Pole is this alien planet where he lives on, but when he goes to New York, it's the new planet, and he interacts with new things, and things are just different there, and yeah, that's like how the plot really plays, and it's still funny and still holds up.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense, especially because we get a couple montages where he's experiencing the city, and there's an instance where he's running in the middle of the street, and he really has no concept of traffic and speeding cars, and he gets hit by a car. And he also picks up gum off the street because where he comes from, gum and sweets and all these treats is something normal that people really nourish their bodies off of.
And when speaking of all those sweets, like, I kind of feel bad for Will Ferrell having to do these things, like having spaghetti with syrup, with chocolate, Hershey's, and M&M's and marshmallows, eating it all at once. I mean, when you kind of think about it, that sounds horrible, so that's why I feel bad for him now.
And it's that obsession for syrup that gets him in trouble in the mailroom where his dad works. He's down there working with a couple of guys who are, sneaking in a little drink during work in their coffee. And he sees them pass a bottle around, and he thinks that it's syrup, but it's actually liquor. And ensues comedy.
And yeah, he gets kind
of drunk, which leads into the next thing he gets in trouble to. He walks into a pitch meeting where his father works. His father works at a publishing company for kids' books, and they're meeting with one of the top authors in the business, who is played by Peter Dinklage. I do not remember the character's name. Oh, Miles Finch. And obviously, Buddy sees him and calls him an elf, and Peter Dinklage gets very upset over this for very understandable reasons, but Buddy keeps poking at it, and it's not that he's trying to be malicious or mean, but he's just really curious why he found another elf who's left the workshop. And when Buddy doesn't get the hint that he's really out of bounds here, he quickly receives a beatdown from Peter Dinklage, which plays like a pretty funny comedy routine, and it's one of the funnier scenes in the movie, I think.
After that, there's that message at the end of the scene, but then again, this film is just a silly comedy.
And it is a silly comedy. There's a lot of nonsense in it, but I do think it has a message, and that's to really learn to take care of what's important, and that is family. And we see that Buddy, even though he's like this man-child who really has no sense on how this world really works, he really means and has the best intentions for him, for his stepmother, for his dad, for his little brother, and he really tries to make others feel welcome, others feel better, and put that best part of himself forward. And I think that's essentially what the message is, for us to learn to be not selfish, and sometimes learn that we got to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And that's like the climactic scene when they're trying to get Santa's sleigh to fly, and the Christmas spirit is being spread by singing. And yes, Zooey Deschanel is in this movie, and they found 2 ways to have her sing, so good on them, I guess.
Put Zooey Deschanel's talent to your advantage in this film.
Exactly. And she plays the love interest, and there's a scene where she's in the shower singing, and Buddy, not understanding the inappropriateness of it all, approaches the restroom and tries to sing along with her. And this is another of those moments where Buddy's lack of understanding gets him into trouble, because obviously that's something that's really wrong and you wouldn't do if you knew the ramifications of it all. So that's essentially our talk / review on Elf. I still really enjoyed it. I first saw this movie 15 years ago it was.
I think so, and we saw it at Costco, and you're like, I'm buying it.
I gotta have this movie. And it's really silly, it's really dumb, but it really does have a little message to it, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm just happy that Eric liked it enough that we could put on this list and watch it and talk about it.
And that's kind of the point of this film. It is kind of supposed to be stupid.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that whole aspect about it.
Thanks, John Favreau, for giving us this movie. And I think
right.
he even made a cameo.
That's right, he did
film.
make the cameo. He was the doctor who was
the blood. Who made the blood?
The blood test, yeah, to really test that Buddy was the son of James Caan.
You're getting Star Trek and your Will Ferrell mixed up.
I think it's pronounced Caan, actually. Well, I don't know. The point is, I know him from Sonny from the Godfather movie. So, anyway, that is our discussion. Leave us your comments down below. Let us know if you like this movie. Have you seen it? Do you appreciate it for what it is? Or if you don't care for it at all, make sure to leave all that down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And that is all.